On today's Chasing the Game, we have Perrysburg head football coach Dirk Conner. We talk about him, his coaching career, becoming the leader of the Yellow Jackets, and what we can expect for the back half of the 2025 season. Chasing the Game starts right now. Welcome into Chasing the Game. Dirk Conner is here. Dirk, thank you so much for coming in and doing this. I know we've been trying to set this up for a while now, so good to finally have you in studio and just be here and hang out, man. How you doing?
I'm real good. Thanks for having me in, Chase. And sorry about being a little difficult on the schedule, but no, you're good to be here.
You're totally fine. I know it's difficult sometimes with coaches, and we were talking about this before we started. It's just that, when you record stuff on Sunday nights, you never know how coaches are because they have meetings, they have film, they got stuff they got to do. So, and I know, school week starts, Monday. You guys have, a busy week obviously ahead of you. So it's just good to finally, have a time for you to come in here and do this. How's the team doing? How's the locker room? How are things right now halfway through the year?
Things are good, man. Like we're where we want to be at this point. We're trying to get better every week and feel like we've got an exciting back half of the season coming up.
Yeah, you guys are 4-1 right now. I remember when I talked to you before the season started, you guys were returning one person on defense. Yeah. How do you think your defense is done? Obviously, they seem to be doing pretty well, right?
Well, progressing.
Yeah.
We, the more you play, the better you get. The more things you see, the better you react to it. And we're seeing things, and we're getting better each and every week. And the guys are doing a great job over there and playing hard and playing physical football. And it's been fun watching them kind of grow. But we got a lot of challenges ahead of us, and we're going to have to continue to grow to kind of reach the goals that we have for ourselves.
Absolutely. You guys play in NLL, Buckeye Division, one of the toughest divisions conferences in certainly Northwest Ohio, maybe Ohio. Offensively, you guys have Brady Maxwell, quarterback, right? How's he doing, in his first season starting under center, taking over for Tackett's, who you guys had for several years?
Yeah, Brady's doing a great job. Same thing with first year starting. It's still, there's some things, he's made some mistakes and some young guy things, but Brady's been phenomenal. We knew he would be. He probably could have started last year, but having Josh in place, and so it was just, it wasn't his turn yet. And so it's his turn, and he's doing a great job, and we're glad that he runs the show for us.
Yeah. What was your football journey like for you in high school? You're from Indiana, right? Obviously, what was it like kind of growing up and playing football in school?
Obviously, I loved it. It's one of those things that from the time I can remember, I've always loved the game of football. I remember being, in junior high and stuff, and having notebooks and drawing plays and things like that. So it's something I've always been just kind of in love with. But then, as you grow up and football teaches you to work, it teaches you to do things hard. And so, throughout high school, really fell in love with the work process of football, the dedication it takes to be good at it. And it's really helped form me into the person that I became down the road. And so naturally it was something I wanted to stay in and be a part of. And I'm glad that I made the move to Ohio 10 years ago. Football here is, in general, significantly better than what I came from in Indiana, and it's good to be in a football state. You
touched on so many great things there. I was going to ask you, how does Indiana compare to Ohio? I know that it's kind of known as like this high school basketball state, but I figured the football must be pretty good too, right? But you think Ohio's better?
Yeah, in general. So around the Indianapolis area in what's called the Mid Conference, Indiana has huge schools.
Yeah.
Like Carmel High School has over 5,000 students.
Right.
And so those schools in that area are just tremendous. They can play with anybody in the country. And you see that when you see the scores and things of that nature. But in general, the average school that's a 800 kid school, the football in Ohio is much better than what it was back in Indiana. And that's no disrespect there, but it's just, it's emphasized more here. Football matters in the state of Ohio. And, moving here for a football guy has been absolutely awesome. And I love falls in the state of Ohio.
I'm glad, you found your home state then, in terms of football. So you said earlier you were drawing up plays like a junior high kid. Were you like normal? Was that normal for like a junior high kid? You think were your friends drawing up plays too?
I don't know. I've never really been worried about what other people did. So I don't know. It's just something that I was always naturally interested in, naturally drawn to. And so, when you get to that age in high school and things, when you're starting to choose a career, this was an easy choice for me. I knew what I wanted to be a part of. And I enjoy teaching. I'm a math teacher at Perrysburg High School, and I like teaching math during the day and love my kids that I have in class, just like I love my kids in my locker room. And so it's a good life for me, and it's definitely something that I enjoy.
That's so interesting to me, the work part of it. Like you become interested in the work of it, like the process, the preparation and stuff. Because I think most people, if you're in junior high, high school, like you're not thinking about it that way. You just think, I can't wait to get out there on Friday and go hit people. And you're thinking about it in terms of like a 7-day, work week, this progression. And I was the kid, I was, no good as, a junior high school football player. In baseball, I'm picking, dandelions out of the outfield and stuff. So it's just so interesting to see people, at an early age kind of figure that stuff out. Did you always want to be a math teacher? Were you interested in other stuff? Like, was it always math?
Yeah, I mean, from the time, when you're in junior high and maybe even freshman, sophomore year, you may say a lot of things. You're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, things that you're supposed to say, But from the time that I knew, like, things that I actually enjoyed and what should I pursue as a career, yeah, it was never a hesitation for me. So, going into college, I knew exactly what I wanted to be, and got in, got out, and let's go get a job and let's roll this thing.
Yeah. So you kind of, do you feel like there are similarities between like coaching kids in, on a football field versus teaching them in a classroom? Like, how do those things kind of compare?
Absolutely, teaching's teaching, and every good coach I've ever known is also a good teacher. And it can be frustrating that sometimes there's a misconception about how coaches are as teachers and things of that nature, and nothing could be further from the truth. At every school I've worked at, and I've worked at 3 of them now in my career, the people that have the best relationships with kids, the people that really relate to them and teach well are always coaches, or not just coaches, but our band teachers, the people involved in theater, like people that connect with kids, not just in a classroom, but genuinely care and spend time with them outside the classroom as well.
Yeah, so you're not the guy who stops in the middle of class to break down film and stuff.
No.
Do you feel like you have classes where it's kind of like football teams where when you see like a good football team, you're like, oh, I've got some guys. Like, this is a good, like, do you have like a good classroom? Like, oh, like these guys are really good at math. Like, this is a good.
Yeah. So, Perrysburg's a great school, man. And
I
get, in general, we have great kids and really smart kids. And so, just like the kids in our locker room, we got great kids in my classroom too. And they're all pretty good.
Yeah. You were saying before this, you played college football at Butler, which is so interesting to me. Can you kind of explain how playing college football at Butler works for me? Because it's a smaller school, right? It's known as like a basketball school, again, like Indiana. And you guys, it's like FCS, but you guys don't have scholarships, right? Explain that to me.
Yeah, so first of all, I can't claim to know exactly what it's like now, because it's been quite a few years.
I know, everything's
since
changed
I graduated
in college
college.
Football, so yeah.
Truthfully, I live football so much, day in and day out, that I don't get to pay attention to the outside football world near as much as people would expect.
You're in a tunnel.
Correct. And so, but basically back then, and I've never claimed to be a football star. I got way more out of it than they got out of me. But it basically was Division III football. I mean, schools of Butler size, and I think of schools like Valparaiso, Dayton, like schools that are Division I basketball schools, basically have to claim D1 status also in football, but it's not anywhere close to that level. And at that time, there was no athletic scholarships. I don't know if there are now. I don't know, because it's changed so much over the last
I'm not sure of it either.
20 years, and it's been that long since I've even been back or even thought about it. So, but at the time, I wanted to keep playing, and as far as a campus feel and the type of school I wanted to go to, it fit the best description for me and gave me an opportunity to keep doing that. And I'm very thankful for it, because, love my high school coaches, and they really helped foster a love of football. But I probably learned more in 2 weeks of college football practice than I did in 4 years of high school football practice. And so really, really grateful for that time there and the things that it taught me. Yeah.
Yeah, do you feel like that's kind of like 80-90% of like your coaching philosophy is like the stuff you learned in college? Or?
No, not necessarily. I think, I think we're all kind of different as coaches, but, I don't even know. Coaching philosophy, that's an interesting thing that you say that. I wouldn't even know what my coaching philosophy is. We want to win. That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
But along the way, we want to do it the hard way and the right way. We want to teach kids how to work hard and grind through and earn things and fight for things. And it doesn't. That's kind of how we are. That's why I want our teams to be physical, be great kids on the field and off the field. I think that's more my football philosophy than anything else, and that just comes from, kind of who I am as a person, probably my own path growing up, and how that forged me.
Yeah, I guess my question, when I say things like that, I more specifically, like, what kind of plays you call, the way you think about things. But I mean, you're right. When you say philosophy, that's really like a greater overarching kind of way you think about things, and, the physicality, the hard work, the attention to detail, like those kind of things that, all coaches say, but it is true, right? Because, you focus on those things, and the teams who do that well seem to do pretty well. Again, you guys 4-1 this season. You're doing terrific. Do you guys have kids who are maybe looking at the college level that they maybe think, oh, I want to go play at the D1 level, but they might not have a spot available for them at the D1 level, and you kind of recommend a Butler type of school, like an FCS or maybe a smaller division school where you might not get like some crazy scholarship, you might not get NIL, but this would be a great opportunity for you. Do you have situations like that?
The overwhelming majority of kids are that situation, and so it's not like especially with social media and things of that nature, it's really hard sometimes as a coach, because Division I is so rare and so different, and there's so many traits you have to have that have nothing to do with how good you play football on a Friday night in high school. that factor into that. The overwhelming majority of kids are not that level. And so whether it's usually not me that has to tell them, the schools tell them. If they're not hearing from anybody, then they're not Division I material. But we're really blessed. We have a heavy presence of colleges that come through and really take a look at our kids and have good pipelines. And we've done a good job of getting kids in colleges and where they fit. I'm sure other coaches that have said here, and it's as far as the D1 that you talked about, it's harder now. It's much harder now because of transfer portal. Unless you're a kid that's really got the measurables and things to go, you're going to have to go play somewhere else and prove yourself before you get an opportunity at a Division I school. And so it's gotten harder for kids to get to that level. But at the same time, I think there's more opportunities at Division II levels and Division III and NAIA in this area that are really good opportunities for kids. And at the end of the day, football ends for everybody. And so it's more important when they're choosing that college to find the right fit for them, for what's going to help them be what they are when they're my age and beyond.
Yeah, and you actually do have some, really talented guys that have come through Perrysburg that are, D1 level guys. Reed Gherkin's like a really good example of that. I think he's a 3-star offensive lineman. He's got some looks from D1 schools. What's it like when you have, a true, measures up to D1 level kind of talent, especially on the offensive line, which is, when you have a D1 offensive lineman, that's a great position to be in.
Yeah, we'll take it. But, we've got some other kids too that can put themselves in that conversation. But more importantly, he's a great kid, and the other kids we have that might put themselves in that position are great kids as well, and they do what's best for our team on Friday nights, and they care about Perrysburg football more than they care about their recruiting, which they know that's going to come. If we take care of our business on the field and they do what they're supposed to do on the field, the other stuff that comes off the field is going to come. And it's a real treat to get to do work with people that have that mentality.
Yeah. I think you've told this story before, but I forget what the answer. How do you got to Northwest Ohio? Because again, Indiana guy. How did you get over here?
Like a lot of men, my wife's from Findlay. And,
okay.
So once we got to the age where we were having kids and things of that nature, we thought the move would be best for our family to come up to this area and be closer to some of their cousins and things of that nature growing up. And so that's what prompted the move.
Yeah, and then so you became, the defensive coordinator for Bowling Green first? That was your first
my first year there, I was just defensive line coach, and then took the defensive coordinator job under Scott Seeger my second year. And I think third year was when Scott stepped down and I became the head coach there. But, yeah, that was kind of the path. And, it's been very blessed and lucky that it worked out the way it has, and got to meet some awesome people along the way and be part of a really good football community in Northwest Ohio.
Absolutely. I remember because I started covering you when you were at Bowling Green, and you were the head football coach, you were teacher, right? You were still math teacher, and you were AD too?
Well, when I took the AD job, I wasn't teaching anymore.
Okay. But at that point, just to be the AD by itself is tough. To be the head football coach by itself is tough. And you were doing both. What was that like, those years where you were having to do all that?
Miserable. It took years off my life, but we're giving different opportunities, and we got to take advantage of them. But it was too much. It was too much. I felt like I wasn't doing either job to the degree that I wanted to do them, and that one was always taken away from the other, and kind of took some getting used to. And then obviously there's you just work. That's all you do. That's all I do now. Yeah. But it was even worse then. So. Thankful for that. It introduced me to a lot of people and opened a lot of doors, and will continue to open doors in the future. But I would never want to do it again.
No, but and
kudos to anybody in the area that's still doing it.
I know. I think there are a few. I can't name any off the top of my head, but there are people like that. If you go to a small enough school, things are getting so big now. It's like you can't be, back in my grandparents' generation, you could be the football coach and the AD and the baseball coach and the basketball coach. And nowadays it's like you can barely be one thing.
Correct.
So it's crazy, how big stuff has gotten. Do you, now that you're in Perrysburg, is it like a privilege now that you can be in a tunnel, like you were saying, that you could just focus on that? You don't have to worry about anything
truthfully, that's part of what made me want to be here. That was a factor in it, is I wanted to put all my efforts into football. I didn't feel like I was able, I never felt like I was shortchanging football, but coming here, I knew I wanted, I'm going all in on this, and I get to just spend my time and efforts on this, and we have, and that's what I'm doing. I'm having a great time doing it, and it's been awesome, and I love being Perrysburg Yellow Jacket. Yeah,
was that kind of the pitch to Jaco and the guys at Perrysburg? You're like, listen, if I get this job, when I can lead this program, you're going to get 110% out of me. I will just be focused on football, and that was kind of the selling point for them. How did you sort of pitch it?
You can ask them. I wouldn't, I was at a point, I didn't have to have that job. I was happy in Bowling Green. I love the people I work with. I love the kids that I had there. So, I'm at a point in life where I'm not going to sell myself. I'm going to tell you what you're going to get, and if you like it, then let's go with it, and if not. But I do remember saying I'm probably the only person applying for this job that's going to be less work than what I was doing before, and that was true to a degree. So
it is just crazy because, I mean, you were one of the guys that, like, when you take that Perrysburg job, and for a lot of people that is a bunch of work. I'm sure it is a bunch of work still, but you were just doing so much back then at Bowling Green that it's crazy that you got to do less work and focus on just football.
Get to go home and hang out with my wife once in a while.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you got to be focused on you got to be going to every game. You got to be just listening to everybody. You got a ton of people coming to you, and it's crazy, I'm sure. You mentioned you work with great people. Mike Ward's your defensive coordinator. What's that like having him, for the people who don't know, defensive coordinator at Toledo, has worked at Bowling Green for a long time, Illinois, is like great college assistant. What's it like having him on your staff?
Awesome. It's been awesome. And I've learned so much working with Mike, but also, we work together really well. We mesh together well. We share similar philosophies and beliefs and how things should go. And it's been really one of the great joys of my coaching profession for the last, I think it's been 6 years now, which is hard to believe that it's been that long. But, we've had a lot of success together, but we've had a lot of fun together. And Mike's a great friend. We have a great relationship, and I'm very thankful for the ride that we got to go on here.
Absolutely. I mean, that's awesome. You guys started again at Bowling Green. You go over to Perrysburg, and I mentioned earlier, you guys have one person coming back on defense, and you guys did really well. It seems to be with that brand new defense, and part of the reason why I think is Mike is such a wizard
awesome.
Defensively.
Mike is great, and where Mike and I share a similar philosophy is, we're not married to, hey, this is what we're doing right here, and we got to find kids to fit it. It's always every year, who are the best kids we have, and what do we need to do with them? And Mike does a tremendous job with that, and obviously does a great job, and it's so good for me. I don't worry about our defense at all. Very rarely do I ever say a word or interject, and I can just focus on the details of being a head coach, and then I also run our offense, and I can just spend my time on that. And so really, really blessed to have the level of excellence that he brings to that position.
Yeah. Do you feel like, the stuff that he does, what you do, you guys are kind of like a perfect match for each other?
I don't know what's a perfect match for. It's been good so far, and I don't see it being anything but good for as long as we can make this thing go.
Yeah. You guys just beat Southview last week. You got Northview coming up this week. Second half of the season, obviously, you got some big games coming up. Finley, Anthony Wayne. What are you guys maybe looking forward to? I know you're a guy who you don't really care about 2 weeks in advance. You just 1 week in advance. So that's why I mentioned Northview. Just what's it like? Going up against. This is conference season. This is division season.
Right.
This is the big games. Yeah.
No, you're right. You know me. I'm a boring interview, but
you're not a boring interview.
It's fun. It's fun. We're excited. Northview this week is our homecoming, and homecoming is always a good time. We've been away for the last couple of weeks too, and even last Friday night I was like, I'm ready to get home and do our normal routine at home. But if you look big picture, and every year we set our kids down at the beginning of the season and kind of segment what our schedule looks like, and we know that we're just getting started. Half the state's probably ready to be done at this point, but we're just now getting started, and so. Which has been awesome, especially with a team that didn't have a ton of experience and a lot of question marks and still trying to figure ourselves out. And there are areas we're still trying to figure out what's going to make us the best that we can possibly be. But we think we've got some really big games coming up down the road, and we're definitely excited for those things.
Absolutely. And I know, us in the media, I know a lot of people are going to be excited to see what you guys can do. I know there was a bunch of questions, as you said. I think you guys are answering quite a few.
The last several weeks of football season in Northwest Ohio, not just referring to us, should be plenty of good cover lines for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Dirk, thank you so much.
Always
appreciate it. This was awesome. Man. Absolutely. Thank you. All right. That's going to do it for this episode of Chasing the Game. Be sure to check out all of our episodes for free on the WTOL 11 Plus app, which you can download on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. You can also watch and listen to all of our episodes on YouTube and on Spotify. We'll see you guys next time.